to Chicago Blackhawks Hockey Central. I'm Joe Vitali. This is Skokes. And today we're going to be covering a very busy, very intense day one of unrestricted free agency. Skokes, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. So free agency opened at 11 a.m. Central Time, and Twitter decided to die. Right
Yeah, that was
when,
awesome.
right when it opened, and it's weird because we still saw these signings, but you couldn't refresh your feed or anything, and it was just it's a disaster. Yeah, pretty much.
Disaster is a good phrasing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very glad for all the like cap friendly and
Mm-hmm.
all those websites, even like Bleacher Nation and CBS and all those TSN. They're all covering, picking up the slack.
Mm-hmm.
So not really a busy day for the Blackhawks, but we knew that they made their trades and got rewarded for their cap dumps, and so they sent a seventh round pick to the Tampa Bay Lightning for the rights to Corey Perry,
Mm-hmm.
and on June 30th that turned into a contract for 1 year, $4 million. Same thing as Nick Foligno. Uh, you know, both of those are pretty high for the caliber of player, but you're looking at the term and that point. It's just 1 year, so you got to pay that extra money. Hawks had, at the beginning, 19.8, I want to say, $1 million to get to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So, now the floor has been achieved. And then they made another splash, a minor one, where they signed unrestricted free agent Ryan Donato from the Seattle Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say he was a college free agent signing of the Boston Bruins, did well enough, and then they started shipping him around.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got, since things are going to, we knew the Hawks were going to be a little, not busy at the free agency. I just decided to screw around with, a roster, and I'm not entirely sure where Donato is going to play. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm being honest, I heard that I believe it was Charlie Romeliotis, Blackhawks insider, said that the KD envisions him in the top six,
Really.
and so right now the top six has for me at least is Hall, Bedard, AA,
Mm-hmm.
Reichel, Gutman, Radish.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered at the deadline last year, people were talking about, like a Hagel type deal.
Mm-hmm.
What prospects throughout the league might be able to yield that sort of payday, two first rounders, two NHL ready players. And one of them was Taylor Radish.
Really.
And so uh, I think towards the end, he started getting his groove and
Mm-hmm.
started, playing, potting the puck,
Yep.
potting the biscuit in the basket. So, I mean, do we want to, move him down maybe? I like
Mm-hmm.
AA on the first line because of all the speed.
Right.
And then, Radish I like because with Reichel and Gutman, because I don't think he's a burner per se, but I think
Mm-hmm.
his skating is adequate, and I think his skill is more aligned with those guys. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe, I don't know, maybe we take Gutman out. I really liked this game.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in the preseason last season,
Mm-hmm.
he was the Chicago Blackhawks. He scored all of their preseason goals, I
Mm-hmm.
believe.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe take him out, put him, you can healthy him, maybe send him back to Rockford,
Mm-hmm.
and then, maybe put Ryan Donato there. But,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little premature.
Yeah.
But, I,
Um. Yeah. No, because Ryan Donato, he could play center or wing. Because that's what he did with Pittsburgh, and then he came from the Seattle Kraken, right?
right.
For the last 2 years, but Last year, he had around 14 goals, 13 assists in 60 something games. So he's a decent depth player, right? He can play center or wing, but he does have pretty decent speed. Um, when I was watching the Kraken, so I could see him carve out maybe that 2C, you know, so maybe Gutman does slide down to our bottom six, but I think that's okay if it works out that way because Reichel and Radish, I think they had a little something going towards the end of the season there when Reichel got his, when was it, like a 7-8 game stint he
Yes.
had, right?
He had a really good goal.
Right, right. Yeah, so if they could carve some chemistry, you know, so I think Donato's contract's a 2 year for I believe it was 2 mil
Yeah.
towards the cap. So just a cheaper contract, you know, someone we could keep around, possibly flip maybe next year. So keep him throughout the season,
Yeah.
because he does bring depth, right? Um,
A $1 million cap hit if Hawks retain 50% is
mhm. Right,
absolutely nothing.
right.
Very, very eatable. So
Yeah. So you know, if he contributes, if he plays really well, yeah, then he might have some interest at the trade deadline, and we'll see. You know, I think that would be great.
yeah, and just looking over, so
Hmm.
uh, cap friendly here, 166 signings
Hmm.
and 646,417,499 handed out,
Hmm. Yeah.
with a cap hit of only 263.5 million
Hmm.
dollars. So that's a lot. 166 signings one day.
Yeah.
That is really wild.
Yep.
And looking over those 166 signings, um, I feel like there are some definitive winners and
Hmm.
losers
Yeah.
of this one and of this draft of this free agency day. And we can start with the Hawks.
Hmm.
Maybe number two rival called the Detroit Red Wings.
Hmm. Right.
The Iser plan. Uh, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure Steve Eiserman really knows what it is either.
Hmm. Yeah. What? So when I look at the Red Wings today, it's just it's like randomness, right? I mean, what's the point of so you bring in James Reimer, he's an older I mean, he's 35, man. I mean, where's the upside in that signing? Because the Red Wings are still trying to make the playoffs. And I'm
Yeah,
not sure if Reimer helps you out with I believe they have Willie Huso.
Ville
Um
Husso.
yeah,
I
yeah,
believe
right.
they traded him.
Really.
I thought so. Oh no, you know what? I think I'm thinking of someone else.
Mhm. I think he's still there.
Yeah,
So
he is.
yeah,
2 more years, 4.75 million bucks.
right.
But I just saw that they got Alex Lyon too, the guy who got the Florida Panthers into the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right. Yeah, and that signing makes a little more sense, you know.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, so like he had some success, and he's 30 years old, so you know he could still help the team out. But everything else is super random. Justin Hall, he's 31 years old, 3 year deal, valued at $10 million with a 3.4 million cap hit. I mean, that's just disgusting for Justin Hall.
Yeah, he is. The Toronto
Mhm.
Maple Leafs and Sheldon Keefe loved that guy.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
yeah. It never made sense. He's sort of similar. Like when I think of Justin Hall, I think of Blackhawks legend Eric Gustafson.
Yeah,
Like what do you do great on the ice, right? And there's nothing really.
yeah, it's true.
I mean, they just make a ton of mistakes. I mean, they're great at that, but It doesn't make any sense.
They make some real boneheaded moves, and I believe
Yeah.
he's a right shot, which is nice, and he's got
Mhm,
size, but I don't
mhm.
think he uses it. Yeah,
No.
shoots right, 6'4",
Mhm.
210,
Right?
and
Mhm.
I think he's just like a liability more
Yep.
so than anything.
Exactly. So he did make a few decent signings, right? So, like Alex Lyon makes sense because they need a younger goalie, so that's good. But picking up Daniel Sprong from the Kraken,
Ooh, I love that play. I
right?
love that play.
He had 20-ish goals last year. I think it was 21 with the Kraken, and he still has some upside because he's only 26 years old. So that's a decent signing, and I believe it's a 1-year deal. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 year, 2 mil,
Hmm.
26, dude. I thought he was older than that. I thought he was like 31.
Yeah. Right.
His picture does not do him justice.
No.
And then they also got Klim Kostin. So they got Klim Kostin for taking on Kyler
Mhm.
Yamamoto's deal and then buying him out immediately.
Yep.
I like Klim Kostin.
Yeah, man. Decent player. Decent winger, and hey, he's only 24 years old, right?
24, 6'3", 212.
Hmm.
Hell of a shot.
Yeah.
Really great shot.
Right.
And he will beat you up.
Hmm. And that's great upside, right? But if you're Steve Eiserman, and you're trying to make the playoffs, I mean, wouldn't you think that you would need like instant contributors, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe don't take a reclamation
Yeah,
uh
I don't,
project.
right.
It's just very confusing, they signed JT Confer from the Avalanche.
Yeah, Northbrook Owen. That was it's a pretty big deal.
Hmm.
Five years,
Yep. 5 years
25 and a
on.
half.
Yep, 25 and a half, 5.1 against the cap. So that's an expensive player, man. And uh, at best, he is a fill in like 2C. If you would have to fill in, right? But throughout 82 games, or even through the playoffs, I don't think that's a great 2C because Dylan Larkin, I believe, is still starting 1C, and I'm not sure who's behind him, but
Yeah,
yeah.
you think maybe Andrew Kopp, but
Uh,
but I mean he can play. He's
mhm,
a forward. He does it all, center, left, right. So
yeah.
he could play anywhere. Maybe he's
Mhm,
with Larkin on the left, or maybe he's
mhm.
whatever. And then you got David Perron and stuff. Not a fan of that guy, but
No, no. Yeah, and the last move they made, it was about 2 hours ago. I believe they traded for Shane Gostisbehere, the
uh,
the Ghost, which
the
is
ghost.
30 years old.
Yeah,
And he had a decent season last year.
he's good. He's a little shifty. He can move the
Right.
puck really well, and he's got a
Mhm.
good shot. But
Yeah,
once again, another one of those D men who just isn't good at one thing. He's like
exactly.
really solid at everything.
Yeah,
With
right.
defense being a little bit probably the his maybe his worst attribute,
Mhm. Right.
which
Yeah,
for
like
defensively
he's
doesn't make sense.
yeah, but like he has a good offensive game, but he's not a defensive stopper, obviously. Yeah, it's just it's confusing what's going on in Detroit, but that's all right for us because
It's always
who
Detroit
cares
Sox.
about Detroit, right?
Yeah, it's always Detroit Sox.
Yeah,
Always.
it's always like that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we were talking about last episode, like Morgan Geeky.
Hmm.
Speaking of the Seattle Kraken, they
Hmm.
let a bunch of guys go, and so Morgan Geeky ended up on the Bruins. Bruins are doing a little bit of tidy work here,
Hmm.
moving the money around, trying to get some spaces, some cap space to get some
Hmm.
guys, but they're kind of screwed because they went all in
Yep.
last year with not only just like picks, prospects, and trades and whatnot, but
Hmm.
they also did with the overages. They gave all their players all these bonuses that ended up going over the cap, and now they're taking it out of this year's cap.
Exactly. And um, it was about 1 or 2 hours into free agency, right? and then I'm seeing Milan Lucic, which we expected because we saw the rumors for him
Yeah.
going back to Boston, but it still seems like they're just trying to squeeze more out of Pasternak, Marchand, and who else is there? Like Jake DeBrusque is still there.
Yeah.
But I don't
Resurgence.
right, and I don't think Bergeron is. I don't know if he's still gonna play or if
I
Krejci's
think
gonna stick
I
around.
think he's packing it in. I think Krejci's packing it in
Hmm.
too. I think they
Right.
gave it all. And
Yeah.
they did. They absolutely did.
Yep. And they're still trying to squeeze more out. They have Charlie McAvoy on the back end, and it seems like they're just trying to add more. Like they signed JVR, James Van Riemsdyk, earlier.
Only for a mill, which I
Yep.
find interesting.
Hmm. Yeah. So they're signing for minimum deals here. So it seems like they think that the Bruins are close to contention because that's when players want to join up, right?
Yeah.
And it's confusing, Like Lucic comes back. They bring in Morgan Geeky, Kevin Shattenkirk. I mean, he's still playing, 34 years old, for minimum deals, and they're just trying to get more out of whatever they have with Pasternak and McAvoy and Marchand. It's weird.
Yeah. I think you're kind of, squeezing from a stone.
Exactly, man.
But it's the Bruins, and we don't really like them either, so who cares?
Mhm. Yeah, and just touching on our neighbors, CBJ, the Columbus Blue Jackets,
Yeah.
they had no signings today, no standard contract signings, but they did sign third overall pick Adam Fantilli to his entry level contract because he is 18 already. So yeah, he was officially uh, able to sign that contract,
And
and
they have a need right now for C, so for
yeah,
centerman.
yep,
So, and he just won the Hobie Baker.
hmm right,
Um, I think they went to the second round of the Frozen Four.
hmm yeah,
Um, so he's kind of been there, done that for the NCAA, and I
mhm.
just don't think there's much more there for him.
Yeah,
And
um,
the NHL isn't a developmental league, but
mhm,
I still think that he has the physical stature to
right,
be able to survive in this league,
hmm
and I think he has the skill to
yeah,
also survive. So I think that I don't think that's going to be a big deal. Uh,
exactly.
they can shelter him if they want. They want to go Boone Jenner 1C and then
Hmm.
have him 2C.
I think that would be fine, right? Yeah, because I was able to watch a lot of Fantilli because I was mainly scouting Frank Nazar after
Nice.
yeah, because he was injured for maybe half the season because of his surgery that he had.
Yeah, hit, I believe.
Right. So when Nazar came back, he was pretty slow coming off, you know, because he probably hadn't had that much like conditioning, because there's just not that much time during the season. But he was able to get back. He played pretty well towards the end there, and Fantilli falling to number three that scares me, right? Because that's our neighboring team, and man, he is gonna be a monster in the
I
NHL.
agree. I agree.
Hmm.
He's gonna be really good.
Yep.
Um, let's focus on the division, the Central
Hmm.
Division.
Yep.
Um, kind of bad news. Well, I mean, the Hawks aren't competitive right now, so it's
Hmm.
not the end of the world. But the Dallas Stars, they're
Yep.
on a bit of a roll. They
Yep.
got Matt Duchene, 1 year, $3 million.
Yeah. After getting bought out from the Predators, we knew someone, or not someone, but a lot of teams wanted him.
Yes,
Just from skill, speed, I mean, just his experience, and he's only 32. I mean, Matt Duchene has been around for a very long time.
dude, he's been on like what Avalanche. He was like
Yeah,
Blue Jackets, Avalanche,
yep.
Predators.
Um, Senators,
Senators?
yeah, long time ago.
Or am I confused? Was he ever on the Blue Jackets? Or am I mixing
Uh,
him up with Johansson?
I think he was because I think he was traded for Johansson. Then he went to the Predators, and then Duchesne was in that trade.
Okay, okay.
I
For
I
sure.
think it was the same trade. Yeah,
I think, yes.
yeah. So
Man,
he,
that guy's been around the block.
yeah, he's been around. That's a great pickup for Dallas. They also signed Sam Steele, which I believe was with the Wild last year, and he's a younger,
Yes.
decent depth player. He could play center, left wing. That's a 1 year deal, so it's just taking a shot for their depth, right?
Yeah, I'm rounding out the bottom six. They got Craig Smith, too. He used to be at Boston Bruins.
Bruins, yep.
He
Hmm.
kind of moved around a lot, too. I know he was on Nashville as well, I want to say. So
Hmm.
maybe a nice little reunion for Craigie and Matt.
Exactly.
They seem to be pretty good. And then
Hmm.
I guess they're not going to sign
Max
Max
Domi,
Domi,
yeah,
but lots of interest around the league, and sounds like Toronto might be in there. And
yeah.
you
Hmm.
want to talk about a mess.
Hmm.
Just go look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. They
Hmm. Exactly.
are, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
Plain and simple. I don't know.
it's just it's interesting, right? Because you think that they're so close because of the star talent that they have, right?
Those
With
forwards, elite,
right,
elite talent.
even Morgan Riley on the back end. Going back to today, like they signed John Klingberg for, I believe it's just 1 year. Yep, 1 year at 4.1. So that's interesting. I don't think Klingberg is playing it as well as he used to
Not
on
at
the
all.
Stars.
That dude fumbled the bag
Hmm.
so bad.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened because he's such a skillful player, and he's not great in the D zone, but
Right.
man, he was really looking elite with the Stars, and I don't know what happened to Klingberg.
It's
Really don't.
that puck possession game, really drive and play. If you
Hmm.
got the puck,
Right.
they don't have the puck, and you're making stuff happen. So I just think if you go like he went to the Ducks on that
Hmm.
1 year prove it deal,
Yep.
and he didn't prove it because the Ducks were absolute garbage.
Exactly.
Uh, and so, and then you think about like, okay, so why weren't the Maple Leafs like? Why couldn't they go the distance?
Hmm.
And it's because of their defense. I think really, you know,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I think the goaltending had something to do with it. But I mean,
Definitely.
once again, that kind of comes back to the D because if you got, the Vegas Golden Knights just won with Aiden Hill, their
Hmm.
fourth stringer, right? So
Right.
like
Yeah.
you don't have to have an Andre Vasilevsky. Does it help? Of course.
Hmm.
But, if you have a bad defense that can't get the puck to your forwards
Hmm.
and can't deny those zone entries for
Yep.
the opposite team, you're done so.
Yeah. And that's what I think about. Like looking back at the old Hawks, right? We have Seabrook, Keith, everyone, right?
Everyone.
Just everyone throughout the years. Just having depth. And if you look at the Maple Leafs last year, right? They trade for Jake McCabe from the Hawks,
Great pickup. Good
and
player,
yeah, that's a good player, man. Super solid. I mean, you won't get more solid than Jake McCabe. At,
especially for $2 million.
yep, for $2 million, you play him on your second or third line. That's perfect. Uh, yeah, so they bring in John Klingberg. They had was it TJ Brody, but they just can't get it done, man.
It's true.
Hmm.
And then Colorado made a bit of a splash as well here.
Hmm.
So they re-signed Bowen Byram, which was
Expected,
yep, the one that got away from the Hawks,
right?
unfortunately.
Hmm.
Um, so love that guy. And they added, so they made that like that end of the season deal for Frederick Olofsson from the Stars.
Right.
But then they added up front Ryan Johansson
Hmm.
at $4 million. They
Yeah.
added because Landeskog, he's got his knee surgery, his cartilage replacement, probably done forever. Probably going
Yep.
to retire, unfortunately.
Hmm.
That's the same thing that shout out Bulls Central,
Hmm. Lonzo Ball.
Lonzo Ball. That's the
Yep.
same surgery that he ended up getting,
Hmm.
and he's probably never going to play basketball again.
Right. And Landeskog, he had his surgery done at Rush Hospital,
Yep,
just
Orthoped,
downtown Chicago.
the one of the best orthopedic
Hmm.
centers in the world.
Yeah.
So you're probably
Uh,
hearing some fireworks right now. So happy 4th of July, everyone.
hmm. Right.
Um, so Ryan Johansson, they got the Jonathan Druin for
Yep.
1 year, $825,000, which I think is really cool.
Hmm.
Um, and then
Um.
this one is a bit of a head scratcher. I'm not going to lie to you.
Hmm.
Miles Wood
Yep.
from the New Jersey Devils signed
Yeah.
him for 5 years.
6 years.
6 years, 6 years,
Yep.
2.5.
Yep. 2.5. I
I
mean,
don't even
he's
I don't even know if that guy can read, dude.
yeah.
I mean, it's wild.
Yeah. I mean, he's a decent depth winger, right? Like bottom
Yeah,
six, but it just doesn't make sense for the Avs, especially, right? I mean,
I agree.
2.5, 6 years. I mean, what are you doing,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I feel like Colorado is like one of those teams where um, you give like your cast-offs to, and then they
Hmm.
become elite.
Right?
It's like like Pittsburgh is kind of like that
Hmm.
because you got the Crosby, Letang, and
Hmm.
the Russian guy Evgeny Malkin.
Hmm.
I don't know why I always blank on his name. It makes no sense. He's such a good player,
Right.
and
Um.
like don't
Yeah.
really like him.
Yeah. You know,
Menace.
I think the last team that we could touch on here, a pretty busy team today, also, was the Pittsburgh Penguins. Right?
Yes,
We already
Kyle
mentioned
Dubas.
it. Yeah.
First year, he's gonna make a
Hmm.
splash and not look like a fool.
Yeah. I mean, he's trying not to look like a fool, right? But I think to the rest of the league, it's a little weird, you know.
Yes,
I mean, he came into that team. They still have Malkin. They still have Crosby. Letang's still there, and they go ahead and resign Tristan Jarry, 5 year deal, I believe. Yep, 5 years. They bring in Alex Nedeljkovic, which has been playing very poor, man.
so bad.
I mean, just very bad the last 2 years.
He got exposed. He got
Yeah,
out from under that
from the Hurricanes.
amazing Hurricanes
Yep.
defense. Yeah, and he just crumbled.
Yeah, he's rough. I mean, I'd rather have like Alex Stalock than Nedeljkovic.
Oh, 10 out of 10
Yeah,
times.
and I think teams are overlooking Stalock, because of his age. But I don't believe he's been signed yet, and I think he would be a more reliable uh, backup goalie
Yeah,
than
I mean,
most of the people that we've seen here.
when you look at like those teams that have their like surefire number one,
Hmm.
like like your Tampa Bay Lightning
Yep.
or maybe like your
Or
Islanders,
Rangers.
yeah, Rangers.
Yep.
Like a Staylock, like he's good for 30 games minimum,
Yeah.
minimum,
Definitely.
and
Definitely.
he's not gonna he's gonna cost you like 2.5 milli,
Hmm.
like maximum.
Yeah. He was definitely one of my favorite players last year. Just from his personality, his play style. I mean, he's only 6 feet tall, so it's more of like an old time hockey goalie. But
Yeah, it's athletic, really athletic.
yeah, but he's making the saves that he needed to make in those tight situations, and hey, that's what you need. If you have to fill in during the playoffs, or if you're trying to make the playoffs, I think that's a decent goalie to have also. So teams need to open their eyes more for Staylock.
Yeah, well, I'm right here on the Pittsburgh Penguins cap friendly, and they're
Yep,
over the cap right now. So
exactly. Yeah,
they need to
man.
get rid of someone.
Yeah, because they also bring in like Ryan Graves, left defenseman. I believe he was on the
I like
Devils for
it.
a couple
Yep,
years there. For 6 years. I mean, that's a big contract.
that
Lars
is big.
Eller.
6 is big.
Yep. Uh, depth centerman. Lars Eller, 34 years old, 2 years. Nola Chari, 31. So it's an old team, man, and they're just trying to squeeze out more from Crosby and Malkin still, and we'll see how
Yeah.
that goes.
They got Stanley Cup champion Riley Smith, so that'll be really cool. It'll be interesting to see him play.
Yep,
But yeah, they're kind of an enigma. Uh,
exactly. Um, I guess we could just wrap up with just what we see from the Hawks. So I predicted on last video that we would sign a goalie, which would be what was his name? Alex Stolarz. So he actually or Anthony Stolarz,
yeah.
and he was signed in like the first 5 minutes of free agency. So that was, I mean, I was right for keeping an eye on him, right? But
Right.
just not the right team.
Not the
I
right team. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he went to the Panthers.
Yeah,
So
backing up Sergey.
yeah, exactly. I think that's a good fit for him also.
I think
But
so too.
right, uh, but I still see us bringing in an old, uh, veteran goalie and possibly, like you brought up, right-handed defenseman,
Yeah,
veteran.
Zaitsev just in
Hmm.
that spot.
Hmm.
I'm not digging it.
Right. Hmm.
And Tenorti is just such a warrior.
Hmm.
He's taking pucks to the face. He's
Exactly.
fighting dudes while
Yeah.
his face is in pieces.
Hmm.
You know, warrior, but he
Yeah.
missed a couple. He missed a couple
Oh
2 true
yeah.
games there. So
Oh yeah.
maybe even a left guy.
Right.
I know the Hawks have an abundance of left guys, so maybe they could just call up someone from the farm.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah, because if they're bringing up like Kaiser, or I believe Nolan Allen's gonna play in Rockford this year with Ethan Del Mastro.
yep, I think
Yes.
so too.
So I do I do see us bringing in a defenseman, because they might not want to rush them up, too early.
Definitely.
Um, Makes sense. Yeah. So I think we still see two more signings in the coming days here, a defenseman and a tendy.
For sure, yeah. Just keep an eye out on them. Like, this is hey, we didn't tamper with them day, but we
Right.
obviously did because 166 signings doesn't come out of
Yeah.
a
Doesn't
couple
get
of
done in
hours
two
of talking.
hours.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So just a very busy day one.
Hmm.
And this is going to be an ongoing thing. There's going to be a lot of turnover in the league. Like I said, Pittsburgh Penguins over the cap right now.
Yep.
Vancouver Canucks, I want to say, over the cap right now.
Hmm.
So you can exceed the cap by 10%, I want to say, is the CBA.
Hmm.
And so in the summer, so not too big of a deal, but they're going to have to figure that out kind of sooner rather than later.
Exactly. Yep. It's going to be a tight one. Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, so this is going to be episode 6, I want to say, of
Hmm.
the Chicago Blackhawks Central Hockey Podcast. I'm Joe Vitali, and that's Skokes. I hope you guys had a really good day watching all the signings, and keep it here for all your Blackhawks content. We'll be here explaining things to you and just shooting the breeze, seeing how it goes. Bedard season still, so
Exactly.
really excited for that. Can't wait to get him out on the ice and start playing some games.
Hmm.
So have a good rest of the night. A happy 4th of July. Go Hawks.
Let's go Hawks.